Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Come on in. How's everyone doing? Good morning, Instagram. Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, Facebook. Pinder, good morning. This is your first time tuning in. Welcome. Is Don Pablo? Good morning. Who is Tony? Good morning. Hopefully, everyone was able to return back to school work today. We're finally back at school and the office today with the weather. Susan, good morning on YouTube. If this is your first time joining in, definitely comment. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Sandeep, good morning. How's everyone doing? If this is your first time, hi Riza, how are you? If this is your first time tuning in, my name is Aisha Chidole, and I'm an immigration lawyer here in Atlanta, Georgia, but I represent clients in all states of the United States. We handle your family immigration matter, your humanitarian-based cases. If you'd like to schedule a consultation, you can call our office, 407-995-6567. I'm going to put that in the ticker right now, or 678-325-1037. Let me put that one in there as well. Just give me a second, guys, so that I can put this numbers in and pin it. 325-1037. Or you can send a WhatsApp to 404-333-8751. All right, so let me just put that, and then I will get back to talking. It's so hard for me to type and put numbers, talk and put numbers at the same time, as you can see. Okay, so let's pin this, pin. Okay. So the numbers in there, someone is asking, I hope all is well. Yeah, one day at a time. Gurgu Lamat, thank you so much. Thank you. Good morning. Amaryl from New York, New Jersey. I know the snow is insane in New Jersey. My friend sent me a picture. Pasa, good morning. So you guys can jump in and ask your questions. Before you guys talked about your questions, I just wanted to talk about a quick update from this weekend. So the federal court has temporarily stopped, and I'm just reading it so that I can give you guys information. I'll also have a separate post on this when I finish. So federal court has temporarily stopped the termination of certain family reunification parole programs. So basically, a U.S. District Court of Massachusetts issued a preliminary injunction which blocks the government from ending previously granted family reunification parole, revoking work authorization early, or cutting parole short before its original expiration date. So this applies to people who are from Colombia, Cuba, Ecuador, Guatemala, Haiti, Honduras, and El Salvador. So for now, the government must pause enforcement of the December 15th, 2025 termination rule while the case proceeds. So basically, they're saying right now you cannot, those people would be allowed to stay if they enter through the family reunification parole program until they make a decision on the case. Again, it is important to know this is temporary, this is not permanent, this does not grant new parole, and it doesn't apply to everyone, just those people who fall under the family reunification parole from those countries, so that's some, semblance of good news. So we'll see and continue to follow the story to see what happens with that. Okay, let's go to y'all's questions. Someone is asking any updates about the ban. Trust me, when there is an update, you'll be the first to know because I will talk about it. Sasha Campbell says, you're a good lawyer. I remember I had a consultation with you back then. Thank you. So why didn't you hire us, from a good lawyer? But thank you so much. I appreciate it. If you lost everything, basically everything from a fire, how do you go about it? I don't know if this is an immigration question. Like, are you asking me an immigration question? I don't know. Thorlo from Barbados, thanks for joining. I bet the weather is really nice there. All right, let's see what other questions I have here. Good morning, Wagner. Good morning, Jasper. I'm just kind of going through some of these comments to find. Alami, good morning from Wisconsin. Chick Tatania, good morning. Babatunde, good morning. Saitog, you say you have a question. Feel free to ask the question. Someone is saying, I'm currently going to my immigration interview with my stepdad. Any tips? I mean, really, they just want to know that you have a relationship together. Obviously, a parental or step parent interview is going to be very different from, an interview based on marriage. So, they will, of course, first of all, establish the relationship. With that, there's not going to be too many questions on that, just really about, I mean, I don't know how long maybe your mom and your stepdad have been married. They may ask you questions about that. When did he come into your life? They may ask you some questions if he has kids, if you know information about that. And then generally they're going to focus on his I-485 to make sure that he is admissible. So he just wants to focus on making sure that the questions he answered in the forms, none of them make him inadmissible. But more importantly, to remember what he answered so that he, doesn't, what was I going to say? So that he doesn't say anything that he didn't say in the initial form. Good morning. How long is VAWA taking? I filed in April of 2023. I've gotten 5 prima facies, no RFEs. VAWA cases are taking about 3 to 3.5 years. If you filed in April of 2023, you're just about to hit the 2-year mark. So you're still within you've hit the 2-year mark. You're almost going to be hitting the 3-year mark this April. So hopefully you get a decision soon. Also, I don't know what country you're from because there are certain countries, 39 countries, if you are part of the adjudicative hold countries, it means that your decision is going to be delayed. We hopefully will find out in March, as the grapevine says, how they're going to be proceeding with this, or what supplemental review they'll be doing. And once I find out, I will definitely let you guys know. All right. Okay. Let's see. Is there a standard price for citizenship? Do you mean like with USCIS? How long is the wait time for the N400? The wait time is different depending on what field office, depending on what field office you go to. So if you, I would say that the average for most people, when you look at the processing time, they tell you 8.5 months. But with N400s, if you're not part of the 39 country ban, we've kind of not ban the 39 country that has a hold. We see somewhere between like 4 to 9 months from the time you submit your application to the time you're scheduled for an interview. Anyone that's part of the 39 countries, I will just say, really, you should be adding about 3 more months to whatever the normal timeline is until they make a determination. Okay. Are receipts being issued for I-751s? Yes, receipts are being issued for I-751s and any case type you file. Can I travel to Nigeria as a green card holder? I hope there won't be issues coming back to the States with this ban going on. The ban that is happening outside of the United States specifically states that green card holders are exempt. Thank you so much, Tasha. I appreciate it. Are K1 visa holders able to adjust? They are from the banned countries. If they are already in the United States, there is not a ban in the United States. I feel like I've said this several times, and probably all the other lawyers have. It's an adjudicative hold. What does an adjudicative hold mean? It means that for the next 90 days, they will not make any decision until they give them directives of the secondary level of review they want to review this country, meaning they want to apply extra scrutiny to the review from those countries. So if you are in the country as a K-1 visa holder, you can apply for adjustment of status. That said, you will add an extra few months of delay to your case, but also understand that there will be a higher standard in reviewing your case. Hope that is clear. How long are EADs and APs taking after valid biometrics are done? It's really hard to give a timeline. There was a time where I would say, and this is years ago, I mean, I haven't been able to give a timeline post biometrics in a long time, but before it kind of used to be on clockwork after biometrics, usually about 12 weeks after you get your EAD. But now it's so different because now there's certain things that varies based on your country. So it's better to kind of look at it at what an average timeline is from when you submit it, which is 4 to 11 months. I will say that right now, I am seeing more cases from. I would say that right now, I am seeing more cases get their EADs around 8 or 9 months. In the past, and that's more recent, like in the last 2.5 months. Earlier last year, I would say they moved a little quicker, like around like 5 months, 6 months, but we're seeing also where in a marriage-based case, in a marriage-based case where you're being scheduled really quickly for an interview before even getting your work permit. So sometimes some people will get their marriage-based case approved before they get their work permit, or they will get their work permit right after they go for their marriage-based interview. So given a specific timeline is a little difficult. Someone says, "Hi, Aisha, how long does it take for you to review and submit the I-751 packet to immigration clients you have?" And when you're affirming, "I've been waiting for my packet." No, I'm not sure who you are, but I'm, unless maybe you've not tuned in, as you would know, I've kind of had an extended absence. I lost my younger brother less than, on December 17th. So between moving his body, burying him, I'm just finishing the funeral last week, Saturday. I'm a human being, so it takes time. We have other attorneys here who can also review the packet. We're doing the best that we can, but, sometimes we're human beings as well. I have been out of the office because I lost my brother and I'm still grieving. All right. So if you send me a DM, or you can send an email with your name, and I'll see who or where your packet is, just so that we make sure that your packet gets out. Okay. All right. How long is an I-751 waiver based on abuse? Typically, those take about 2 to 2.5 years. They do give you a 48-month extension on those. It doesn't mean that your case will take 48 months. 48 months is 4 years, but because they don't want you to have a gap, so they would give you typically an extension of 48 months, but most cases take 2 years. Some people will file for citizenship if they're eligible for citizenship, just so that they can quicken the process. I have to warn you guys about filing for citizenship if you don't have a strong I-751 case. If you don't have an I-751 case that is super strong, or you're not sure what the outcome is going to be, it's kind of like awakening the beast. You really need to be prepared to remove the conditions in your green card before you rush to remove the N-400, because what ends up happening is, people will come and say, "Oh, I filed for the N-400, I had an I-751 pending," and then both cases get denied, and then they have an NTA, and they're in removal proceedings. So you really want to make sure that you have a solid good faith marriage evidence, which is what you have to have the most of, in an I-751 to remove it. Debrielle, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Adebisi says, I got a letter to come for biometrics on January 6th, which I did. What does that mean? It means that, you have to do your fingerprints, get your identification. That is required of all applications with USCIS. So that's normal. Consultation is $150. And I just answered the question on VAWA timeline. What is the wait time to file an N-400? N-400 depends on whether you're filing based on marriage or a general provision. If you're filing based on marriage or as a victim of abuse, then it's 3 years from the time you got your first green card. But also understand that your spouse had to have been a U.S. citizen for 3 years, and you had to have been married to them for at least 3 years to be able to file for the N-400. Oh, and the last thing is that you have to have lived in that same state or jurisdiction that you're applying to for at least 3 months. So we call it the rule of threes. Otherwise, if you don't meet any of those requirements, then you'll be doing 5 years. You'll be waiting 5 years before you can put in your application, right? I got a charge brought after I got my green card. I got my green card December 2023. Is it safe to file for my citizenship? I mean, you're not even eligible for citizenship from December 2023. But, I don't know your personal story or charge, but, good moral character is a requirement for citizenship. So it would depend on what your charge is. It's always good to wait till that charge is past the good moral character window, which is typically 5 years. So it just depends. Rock of Gilbrata. Okay, thank you. Keep doing the amazing job that you're doing. It doesn't go unnoticed, so I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I filed an I-751 removal of condition in April of 2024. When will I be eligible to apply? Again, it depends on what you're filing based on. Are you doing it based on a waiver or joint filing? I think I just answered the question. It could be based on the 3-year or the 5-year, but make sure you have a really strong I-751 application, right? Celicia's, thank you. I appreciate it. If I have an immigrant visa interview scheduled for February, will I be affected by the new rule? I'm Nigerian and the interviews at the Nigerian consulate. They most likely won't approve you unless they lift it by then. We see that they are still scheduling some of our clients that are consulate processing from certain of those countries, but most likely they will not approve it from the consulate side. Because they cannot approve it because it's a ban. So what will happen is if, let's say, they don't approve it, your I-130, you can still hold, it's still valid usually. And so if once the ban is lifted, you can then reach out to the consulate about rescheduling you based on eligibility, should that happen. Can I know about T visas? What exactly would you like to know? A T is a trafficking visa, which means that you were trafficked to the United States or while you're in the United States for labor or sex trafficking. So, the characteristics is you have to basically show fraud, coercion, right? Or forced. Basically, you were forced to do that job or stay in that job under conditions that violate labor standards. Essentially, and, them sending you back home would cause extreme hardship to you. If you get approved for a T visa, after 3 years, you can file for a green card unless, you get your application certified. by a law enforcement agency. If they certify it, then you would be able to do an early adjustment. Let's see, what else? What else do you want to know? And oh yeah, so I mean, when you do get approved for your T, you will get a work permit while you're waiting to be eligible for a green card. So I hope that gives it kind of like a summary. My wife is at stage 2 of the green card, waiting for the I-485. Wouldn't make a difference if she is here in the US as a Jamaican. She's on F2 now. It wouldn't make a difference. There is no ban or there is no adjudicative hold for Jamaicans here in the United States. You can apply for adjustment of status and your process goes through the normal process. So, if she's waiting for the I-485, what happens next is they'll schedule her for an interview if she already applied. I'm assuming, wait, are you saying she's applied or you're saying she's F2, meaning that you're an LPR? Actually, I just realized that. First, I thought maybe you meant like F2, like she's on your student visa or something. If you're saying she's F2 category means spouse of a US, of a green card holder. Is that what you're saying? If that is what you're saying, then she will only be eligible for an I-485 if she remains in status. If she goes out of status before she's eligible to file the I-485, she will not be able to file the I-485. She would have to go back to Jamaica to consular process. So hope that answers your questions. Again, your case is very nuanced if it's F2 because she's an LPR, so you're better off doing a consultation. Guys, some of the questions are kind of like a supplement to another question, which I can see. So it's hard for me to respond to that. I have a friend that stayed over their visa. It's been a week. Is it possible for them to get an extension on their visa, or is it too late? So the answer is that it depends. Typically, if you want to file an extension on your tourist visa, for instance, which I'm assuming that's what it is, you want to file it, you want it to hit USCIS before it expires, unless you have a legitimate reason of why you're submitting it late. And if you do, what you'll be filing is what we call a non-protonc. So basically where you're saying that they should retroactively backdate it based on you, that based on whatever the circumstances is. That's why I'll give you an example. We had a client, this is years ago, I think I want to even say 2019 or maybe 2020, I can't remember, when they had the Bahamas hurricane that destroyed kind of a lot. And I remember she was in a B1, B2. And so by the time she realized she couldn't go back because she had her ticket just right around the end, and then they canceled it where she would never have been able to get back home on time, we were able to do a non-protonc, which was approved. This was definitely Trump 1.0 though. That's what I remember. So that would be a scenario where you'd be able to do it that way. Okay. Is there an adjudicative hold on Jamaicans for VAWA? No, there's no adjudicative hold at all for Jamaicans in the US as of today. Mm-hmm. If your I-130 has been approved and you're waiting on your I-485, what could be the delay? I don't know. I would need to know what kind of case you're filing. Did you have an interview at the same time? What category? So there's just so much I would need to know to be able to answer. My case was transferred to a non-local FO with an interview waiver. What happens next? I actually don't understand the question. What are you referring to when you say FO? Okay. I've received a 10-year green card. Is it safe for me to travel back home to Ghana? Congratulations, Sarah. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to go back to your home country. You're a permanent resident of the United States. Usually, the only time in this administration where I throw caution is if you have any criminal cases pending, or just any kind of criminal judgment. Just, I wouldn't if I were you. But otherwise, as a 10-year green card holder, you're eligible to live and work permanently in the United States and travel as well. A friend filed for VAWA in September along with a work permit and advance permit. They still have not received receipt notices. A follow-up email and call were made in December. Is this delay normal? And then you have a follow-up question. And once receipts are issued, the work permits usually move faster. Thank you in advance for your response. The delay is normal. If you guys remember, I told you guys that it takes that any case that was filed with VAWA unit in Lincoln, Nebraska, if you're filing receipt or where you filed your case was in Lincoln, Nebraska, you are going to expect a delay. And I mean, some people delays are up to like 7 months, so if you filed there, that is normal. September is normal. At the end of September, they broke up all the locations based down on where the person lives, where you can, where you can now start sending the packets or your applications. And since they did that, those locations are processing receipts faster. But Nebraska is very, very slow. So I can almost bet that your friend submitted her file to Nebraska. So you can confirm that and let me know if that's correct. And once the receipts are issued, work permits will depend on what country she's from, and timelines vary, 4 to 11 months with most people right now, on average 8 to 9 months. That's what we're seeing. Crystal says, why exactly does it take so long to get a green card? Your guess is as good as mine. I wish that we could all just submit applications and our clients would get approved a week later, but I can't tell you the reason. Oh, Phoebe says they had a heart attack and were sick and couldn't travel. So sorry. That is so scary. They should definitely file for an extension right away. When they are filing the extension, they want to include their their hospital records and, proof of continued care, showing the need or the necessity to stay here and finish their treatment, prognosis, and getting something from the doctor confirming that it is a risk for them to travel. B1 and B2 visas do take a long time to approve, like the extension. So what typically happens is that when you file it, you want to do, when you do a non-protonc and you're going back to, let's say, you said it's a week. So I'm just going to pick a random date. Let's say her stuff expired January 15th. She should expect that by June, or so February, March, April, May, June. Okay, sorry, by July 15th, even if she hasn't heard back about that B1, B2, she should be filing a second extension. She must file that second extension because what they frequently like to do is they will not approve the B1, B2 until like a day or two before it expires. So by her filing the second extension, it keeps her in a period of authorized stay, showing that she filed that extension while waiting on the other one. So, you have to really time it correctly. This person said, yes, it was Nebraska. Okay, so yes, my guess was correct. If it is Nebraska, you can fully expect that delay. I got to jump off. I hope you guys have a good day. The person Nolo Low or something on Facebook, definitely reach out via email with your identification, who you are, and let's see what's going on with your case. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.